when there are parents and family members that authorities in this community gather together once a month, or I think it's about once a month they'll do, to try to get the parents quote unquote involved, but it's honestly to indoctrinate and confuse the parents and manipulate them as well. So they also reach outside of the community itself, because the more control they have over the family members, the less likely individuals attempting to escape are going to make a successful escape. Countless times I watched people attempt to escape and were unable to do so because of this problem, because they've been brainwashed on the outside. The parents have been brainwashed at these conferences and these things they have them coming to, and they get them all emotionally worked up, and they play upon their vulnerabilities as family members who actually give a shit about the individual and their family and wants them to be okay. When you see all of us grown adults, okay, in these pictures at these conferences and things, the annual festival, and then they have the little ones throughout the year that parents don't go to, family doesn't go to, it's just controlled within the community. The way everybody looks, the way everybody's smiling, the moony glare in everybody's eyes, the way that everybody acts, okay, is not natural. It's not normal. And anybody on the outside that sees it for the first time is going to know that. They're going to see that and they're going to notice it. It makes sense that if you're a family member that actually really truly does care about somebody struggling with an addiction, the biggest thing and most important thing that would seem would be that they're clean. They're off the drug. They're not going to die of an overdose, and you are being told that they're getting better and being treated. Like I said, seeing them smile, seeing them act, honestly, everybody acts like 5-year-olds at this festival, which is also another thing that kind of ends up common in cults in general. They want to make you feel like a child. They want to make you feel infantile and helpless and give them the power and give them the authority and give them the control. One of the first things that they do, other than breaking a person down when they're in the middle of detox, is immediately forcing them to do ridiculous things, like sing and dance like they're on the Wiggles, a TV show, a kid's show, Teletubbies, Blue's Clues, you name it. This isn't the way adults act. This isn't the way normal people act. And they do these same repetitive songs and these hand motions, and they're all doing it together, all robotically. You're forced to do that. For example, like at Steubenville, you take a group of people from St. John's Parish in Front Royal, like ultra conservative, and send us over to Steubenville, which I was in the first group of teenagers that ever went to that conference. I wasn't even a teenager yet. I think I was 12 when I went. But anyways, you go there and everybody's yay, hand motions, singing, jumping, like just acting what would be considered outside of the norm and whatever. You know, it's fun, or you're getting something out of it, whatever. But here's the problem. When you start forcing people to do that. Right? So if you all want to sing songs and do your little dances, fine, but forcing somebody else to do it is not okay. This is all mental manipulation here. All right, so you're immediately forced to do stupid, ridiculous, uncomfortable things that you're not okay with, and you don't even understand why you're doing them. What they try to claim is that, you know, they don't get government funding. They rely completely on God's providence. This is something that a lot of scammers say, particularly ones like Joel Osteen, prosperity preachers. Give us money because God wants you to give us all this money, and then he's going to give you this much money back, and tries to tell you that if you're a true Christian and you follow Jesus and it's true, then God's going to give you earthly riches in this life. He's going to make you rich. You're going to have a bunch of prosperity on this earth, and that's anti-biblical, and it is anti-Christian. It's a load of bullshit, and it is a common thing used to manipulate people into these mega churches. If they wanted to say that they rely totally off providence and donations, which is a total lie, then that would look like this. People entering the community knowing that it's not a place where there are professionals who can treat them for these specific illnesses, but being some sort of alternative lifestyle that they're willing in. They're not being held against their will. They can leave if they want to. They're not being abused and neglected and manipulated. If it's just some weird thing that they want to try because they don't believe in medicine or psychology or something like that, fine, if you're an adult and you choose to do that. But no, you cannot hold people against their will. You cannot hold people against their will. Using people's children as pawns in this community, anything that's important to them, even being able to see their family member once a year, again, which is highly controlled. They wanted to say it's because we grow our own produce, our own vegetables, so we dig up gardens, we grow our own vegetables and fruits and herbs and spices and all sorts of things like that. That goes on at every house. You know, we'll chop wood to make a fire to heat the place or whatever else is going on. If you were just living off the land and this is something you're doing and you're having a roof over your head and you are being respected as a human being and an individual, not being held prisoner, you're not being neglected, starved, manipulated, or abused to a singular conformed mind. If none of that was going on, fine. fine. You want to stay somewhere where you're tilling the ground and you're getting food from it and you're getting donations that are going directly towards the houses and what the people need, things like that. Fine, but that's not what this is. They have restaurants, like nice ones too. They'll just donate food at the end of the week. So there's always food there in that sense. Direct food, not money. It's just food. They bring us and we're making food, and they'll have cows and so you have milk and all these other things. That's one thing to say, okay, we're working to live here, or we're living to work here, whatever it is you think you're doing. That's not what's going on here. I mean, those things are going on, but what's going on here is they're making profits directly off slave labor in illegal ways, forcing 12-hour work days where the outcome is product and merchandise that you are going to sell in actual stores and making money. This is buying and selling. This is making money. This is labor. You are making a profit. That's not a donation. It's not a donation, and it's not God's providence. You can't just say that because somebody has a bed to sleep in and a roof over their head, that's all that there needs to be. That you can do anything you want to them, have them work all hours, do all sorts of things, making you a profit, when it does not cost that to keep them there. The labor we're doing of growing the vegetables and food and preparing the food, and the donations we get from food, actual food donations, not monetary, okay, and the clothing donations and everything else like that, y'all don't need to be taking money from parents and families on the outside to achieve that. We are self-sufficient in that way when we're there. Would have what we need without all this money that they're taking for themselves and making a profit off of. They're trying to hide and mask behind this idea that this is all donations and profits. It's complete bullshit. One of the last bouts of labor that I did in Lourdes before they moved me to Italy, this was at the peak of the anorexia. This was at the worst point where I was passing out multiple times a day, and they knew that I was going to be a liability because they were expecting me to die anytime. And no professionals here, no doctors, nobody that could actually help somebody struggling with anorexia or any other eating disorder or problem in this community. Nobody there. Who do you have? You have somebody who's been there maybe a year longer than you, that's sucked up enough to get the keys to the house and be able to boss everybody else around. So the individuals handling dangerous, potentially fatal cases of eating disorders and other mental illness and physical conditions. There are people that are more than happy to take power over money any day if that's the form that it's in. If that means you get to run houses and houses of individuals that are under your control, and you get to say when they sit and when they stand, when they go anywhere, whether they translate for you, make money for you, whether they're building things for you to sell to make more money for you. These individuals love power. They love control, and therefore they love money. Because when it comes to earthly means, money is what gets you power and control in the earthly sense. It's what they love. And they don't just get to do this crime. They don't just get to take advantage, sick and twisted stuff they're doing to live the life that they want to live and to have all this excess money. Power in the control. They can travel where they want. They can boss everybody around. They can go on vacations. They can eat what they want. They can wear what they want. They can run houses. They can do what they want. They live freely whilst being able to control the majority of everybody else under them if you make it to that level. The most despicable thing that they do in this cult is manipulate and even kidnap individuals and their children. They will use your child as a pawn. Please, if you are considering entering this community and you have a child, don't do it. And if you do go in there or you're in there and you have a child, don't let them bring your child in there, because they're only going to use them as a pawn to manipulate and use and abuse you. People in charge of your child or children or anybody who does get the permission because they've sucked up and conformed enough to be able to have their child live with them there, whatever they have to do that, this community. You will not be with your child. You won't be raising your child. The random 2 women that house decides to allow and pick, watch your children and raise them around the clock. Raise your kid, not you. Could have been me. Could have been somebody next to me. Could be anybody that person who's in charge with the keys, who's just the same situation. They walked in that door with a drug addiction or this problem or that problem, and they sucked up and conformed and got the power hunger. Got those keys, they got that control, and that's who's running the place. And that's who's watching your kids. That's who's raising your kids. You have no idea. You are forced to leave your child with an individual who came in just like you, and you have no say in it. This community manipulate people with children in disgusting ways. So when I'm talking about Albino and Joyce, all these other authorities, which tend to be, okay, you either get ordained a priest in there, you do vows to become a nun of Mother Elvira, whatever they call themselves at this point, or you get married with the blessing of and under the control of this community, which then their mission is generally to make you pop out kids and keep you in this community, put you in charge of houses, send you out to these mission houses. So I can't sit here and say it's a bad thing. Is there mission houses, as long as there's not stuff going on that I don't know about there, which there might be, because I didn't go into one of them. You know, they did set up mission houses in like Brazil, Peru, Mexico, and Africa, and maybe some other places now, where a few select individuals can go and take care, you know, of orphans on the street and babies left in alleyways and things like that. And that's a good thing. But it doesn't excuse the rest of this, and it doesn't make the rest of this okay. So when people go to things that they're pointing out that might seem like a positive thing, you need to look at everything that's going on holistically. I can promise you the money that we are slave labor for is not going to us, and it is going into the pockets of these individuals in the power and control of this cult. All this extra money, you need to realize how big this has grown, how many people are in it, the investors, the rich families, okay, that they continue manipulating money from these family members while they're holding your loved one prisoner, and you don't realize it or know it. I've seen one American girl escaped before me, a good amount before me, almost 9 months before, and it was at the annual festival, and her family smuggled her out of there. They've been trying to get her out of there. And this girl was basically put in solitary confinement. I was in the same house with her. There's so much to get into. There's so much. It's hard to... The bottom line is, you're not going to get treatment for your mental health problem here. You're not going to get treatment for an addiction here or any other problem. There's no treatment here. There are evil people who have taken over and formed this cult. Right? There are people who see dollar signs on the head of your struggling loved one who's in withdrawal or on the street, drunk, any of those things. We have to smile to the outside world. We have to smile when we're at this festival. We have to say certain things and not say other things. You understand, we're being threatened behind the scenes. We're being threatened and manipulated. Most are terrified to step out of line in any way. It's all very controlled. Though it's only a few days there that you have after a whole year of not seeing family, they'll let you eat lunch in this one area with all these other people eating lunch with their kids, and you get like an hour and they're watching over you. And most of the rest of the time you can't sit with your family, you can't talk to them, you have to sit in your group of your house up front. And so most of the time that they're there, you're not even seeing your kid. And that's because they don't want to give us opportunity enough to be able to say something or signal you for help. Tight control is kept because they don't want you to find out that we're being held there against our will. Many of you have seen it, even at the family conferences and things like that. When I was in Florida at one point, there was a guy that was trying to get help and he was trying to get out, and they humiliated him on stage in front of the entire audience of people. For those of you who've ever seen the TV show The Handmaid's Tale, the best way that I can describe it is like this.
The boys just kept coming down into the basement, maybe 3 at a time. I just couldn't believe they were doing it. It's actually happening.
And who led them on? Whose fault was it?
I don't know.
Whose fault was it, girls?
Her fault. Her fault. Her fault. Her fault. Her fault. Her fault.
Go on, do it. Why did God allow such a terrible thing to happen?
Teach her a lesson. Teach her a lesson. Teach her a lesson. Teach her a lesson.
This is one of the main psychological manipulation tactics they use in what they do on a daily basis to people, particularly those that do not conform to their mentality and their belief system.